The courtroom is silent. My palms are sweating inside a blazer that costs more than my rent. Across the aisle stands the woman I kissed 3 nights ago. The judge calls her name, and I feel my entire legal career crack in half. Because the plaintiff suing my company is Seraphine Vale, and I am one of the firm's top attorneys. Let me rewind before you assume I'm the villain, or the idiot, or the hopeless lesbian cliché who fell for the wrong girl. First of all, rude. Second, fine. Maybe I am a little bit of all three. But before we go further, do me a favor, like and subscribe. If my career implodes publicly, at least let the algorithm support me emotionally. 3 weeks earlier, I met Seraphine at a rooftop fundraiser hosted by my firm, Marrow & Klein Legal Group. I was there to smile politely and pretend corporate law isn't just rich people arguing over commas. She was there wearing a red dress that should legally require a warning label. She wasn't networking. She wasn't impressed. She was staring at the skyline like she was calculating something bigger than money. I told myself not to approach her. Then I approached her. Because I am many things, but subtle is not one of them. Enjoying the view? I asked. She looked at me and said, "I'm considering buying it." I laughed. She didn't. That should have been my first warning sign. Her name was Seraphine Vale, entrepreneur, founder of Vale Biotech, which meant she was either brilliant, terrifying, or both. Spoiler, both. We talked for an hour about innovation, about ethics in business, about how corporations sometimes cut corners for the greater good. She looked at me like she was testing something. I thought it was chemistry. It might have been cross-examination practice. Here's something law school doesn't teach you. Attraction lowers your critical thinking skills by at least 30%. I'm not citing a study. I'm citing myself. We started seeing each other. Coffee dates turned into late-night debates about morality. She challenged everything I said. I found it infuriating and weirdly attractive. Then came the night she kissed me in her kitchen while explaining regulatory loopholes. Nothing says romance like federal compliance violations. If this were a normal love story, this is where I'd say everything felt perfect. It didn't. There was something she wasn't telling me. You know that gut feeling? Mine was filing internal complaints. The truth arrived in a manila envelope on my desk Monday morning. Case assignment: Vale Biotech versus Marrow & Klein Legal Group. Plaintiff representation seeking damages for corporate malpractice. I blinked. Once, twice. Then I checked if Mercury was in retrograde. Seraphine wasn't just suing a random corporation. She was suing mine. My firm represented a pharmaceutical partner accused of suppressing safety data. And she had evidence. This is where ethics enters like an uninvited aunt at a wedding. As a lawyer, I'm bound to confidentiality. As a human, I was bound to her lips. I could request removal from the case. That would be safe, professional, responsible. It would also raise questions. Questions lead to suspicion. Suspicion leads to audits. Audits lead to unemployment. So I did the dumbest smart thing imaginable. I kept quiet. I told myself I could manage it. Separate love from litigation, like separating oil from water, or tequila from bad decisions. That night, I asked her casually, "Anything new in your world?" She smiled like she was holding a secret grenade with the pin halfway out. "Just preparing for a battle," she said. Psychologically speaking, we reveal truth in fragments. It's safer, less explosive. She was testing how much I knew. I was pretending not to know anything. We were both liars. Just professionally trained ones. The next firm meeting confirmed it. The partners were furious. "This Vale woman thinks she can dismantle us." One of them snapped. I sat there nodding while mentally recalling the exact curve of her smile. Then came the twist I didn't expect. I was assigned as secondary counsel on the defense team, which meant I would be directly involved in dismantling her case. Or trying to. That evening, I stared at my reflection and asked a question no law textbook prepares you for. If loving someone exposes corruption, are you obligated to protect the truth or your career? And somewhere across the city, Seraphine was probably asking a different question. How far is she willing to go to win? The terrifying part? I wasn't sure which side I was on anymore. The first strategy meeting felt like preparing for war. Slides, timelines, risk assessments. My firm dissected Seraphine's complaint like it was fiction, but I had read her evidence. It wasn't fiction. It was sharp, precise, personal. The accusation was simple but devastating. A pharmaceutical partner suppressed internal safety data to rush distribution. My firm had helped draft compliance language I personally reviewed 6 months ago. Here's the thing about corporate law. It's rarely about what's illegal. It's about what's defensible. There's a difference, and it's uncomfortable. That night, Seraphine invited me over. I almost canceled. Instead, I showed up with wine and guilt wrapped in designer heels. She opened the door smiling, and for a second, the lawsuit disappeared. We cooked together. We laughed. She teased me about my inability to chop vegetables evenly. Apparently, precision doesn't transfer from contracts to carrots. Halfway through dinner, her phone lit up. A message from her legal team. I saw my firm's name flash on the screen. We both pretended I didn't. Denial is fascinating. Psychologically, it's a short-term comfort mechanism. Long-term, it's a demolition crew. Seraphine, I finally said, setting my glass down. Are you suing my firm? Direct, clean, like ripping off a bandage. She didn't look surprised. That was my second warning sign. Yes, she said calmly, and I was wondering when you'd ask. You knew? I asked. She nodded. I knew your firm represented them. I didn't know you were assigned. The pause after that sentence could have been measured in geological time. So what now? I asked. She stepped closer. Now we see who you are when it matters. That sentence stayed with me longer than any legal brief, because love doesn't test you during candlelight dinners. It tests you when your integrity is inconvenient. The next morning, I requested access to internal archives connected to the pharmaceutical client. If I was going to defend them, I needed everything. And I mean everything. That's when I found the email chain. Subject line: delay disclosure. My stomach dropped so fast I considered suing Gravity. The data wasn't falsified. It was withheld, strategically, temporarily, legally arguable, morally questionable. Here's where it gets complicated. If the data had been released earlier, millions in stock value would have evaporated. But if it stayed hidden, patients assumed unknown risks. I confronted one of the senior partners. Was this deliberate? I asked. He adjusted his cufflinks and said, "We operate within the law." That wasn't an answer. It was a shield. Power has a way of redefining right and wrong. The higher you climb, the more flexible morality becomes. It's almost elastic. Stretch it far enough, and it snaps. That night, Seraphine called. "You're quiet," she said. I wanted to tell her everything. Instead, I said, "Work is complicated." Understatement of the century. "Evelyn," she said softly, "I'm not doing this to destroy you." That was almost worse, because it meant she believed I had a choice. The preliminary hearing date was set. 2 weeks. That's how long I had to decide who I was going to be in that courtroom: defense counsel, whistleblower, or coward. And as I stood alone in my office, staring at the city lights below, I realized something terrifyingly simple. This lawsuit wasn't just about suppressed data. It was about exposure, of corporations, of corruption, of me. 2 nights before the preliminary hearing, I did something reckless. Not romantic reckless, ethical reckless. I printed the delay disclosure email chain and stared at it like it might blink first. There's a psychological concept called cognitive dissonance, the discomfort of holding 2 conflicting truths. Mine were simple. I loved her, and my firm was not innocent. I called in sick the next morning. I never call in sick. My assistant thought I'd been replaced by a clone. Honestly, I wished I had. Instead of going to the firm, I went to the courthouse and requested a confidential ethics consultation. If I stayed on the case without disclosure, I risked disbarment. If I withdrew suddenly, I risked suspicion. The advisor asked one question: "Do you believe your firm acted improperly?" I hesitated. That hesitation answered everything. That afternoon, I met Seraphine in a quiet park far from skyscrapers and legal threats. No suits, no boardrooms, just grass and uncomfortable honesty. "I found something," I told her. She didn't smile. She didn't gloat. She just listened, which somehow hurt more. "I can't tell you specifics," I said. "But if this goes to trial, things could collapse." She studied me like I was evidence. "For them?" she asked softly. "For everyone," I replied. And that included me. She confessed something then. She hadn't filed the lawsuit just for damages. She filed it to force transparency. Vale Biotech had lost funding because they refused to suppress similar data years ago. She wasn't attacking my firm. She was challenging a pattern. That's when I realized this wasn't a romantic obstacle. It was a moral crossroads disguised as a relationship. The preliminary hearing arrived like a storm cloud in heels. The courtroom buzzed with reporters. Corporate lawsuits rarely attract attention, unless they smell like scandal. I stood at the defense table, my firm's name polished on a brass placard. Across from me stood Seraphine, composed, fearless, infuriatingly stunning. This was not how most couples spend Wednesday mornings. The plaintiff's counsel began outlining allegations of withheld safety disclosures. Each sentence felt like a spotlight moving closer to the truth I had buried in my briefcase. Then it was my turn to respond. I stood, adjusted my jacket, and said the words I'd rehearsed all night. "Your Honor, the defense requests an internal review of newly surfaced evidence." You could hear the confusion ripple through my firm's partners behind me. I wasn't denying. I wasn't attacking. I was stalling. Strategically, publicly. The judge granted a temporary adjournment pending document review. It wasn't dramatic, no gavel slam, just a pause. But pauses change outcomes. Outside, one of the senior partners grabbed my arm. "What are you doing?" he hissed. I smiled politely, protecting the firm from greater liability, which wasn't entirely a lie. Because here's the truth. If the email chain surfaced under subpoena instead of voluntary review, the fallout would be catastrophic. I wasn't betraying them. I was forcing accountability before destruction. Seraphine caught up to me near the exit. "That was unexpected," she said. There was no triumph in her voice, just curiosity. "I'm not your enemy," I said quietly, "but I can't be your inside source either." Boundaries. Clear, necessary, painful. She nodded. "I don't want you to burn for this," she said. "I just want the truth on record." That sentence landed heavier than any accusation. Weeks later, the internal review forced negotiations. The pharmaceutical partner agreed to release amended safety disclosures and settle quietly. No dramatic trial, no explosive headlines. Just accountability wrapped in legal language. My firm survived, bruised but intact. Some partners retired voluntarily. Corporate translation, gently pushed out the door. Seraphine and I didn't celebrate. We didn't post victory photos. We went back to her kitchen, cooked dinner, argued about carrots again. Because sometimes the most radical thing you can do after chaos is choose normal. I used to believe ethics and love couldn't coexist in the same courtroom. I was wrong. They just require courage and the willingness to stand up even when it costs you comfort. And if you're wondering whether we're still together, let's just say some cases are worth ongoing negotiation.